Anything to add?
Yeah, Chair. Appointments to the new benefits committee.
By Dan? Second by John. Any discussion? All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carried. Minutes. December 20th. And nothing?
No.
Nobody? Okay. Page 1, number 3 under agenda confirmation motion, and second to approve the agenda.
Well, I saw that, Larry, but I was
Well,
not gonna bring that
well,
up.
I got other things.
There's an S missing on one thing too, I thought.
Page 2, under the motion to approve purchase of the Bobcat L28, probably should add loader on it, people probably don't know what that is. But did we approve buying that Cub Cadet snowblower? Because I don't see it. I thought we talked about that and that wasn't part of the deal.
I thought it was, but I'm mistaken.
I thought they wanted to have two, but we already have one, but that you're talking the 2,500 or.
That total, of course, doesn't, that total there was for the loader and then 2,500. And I thought that was the other option. If we didn't buy the loader, we'd buy the Cub Cadet. I can't remember.
I thought it was both.
Both?
Yeah.
Well, you check with, the maintenance supervisor, he'll know. Down under finance, motion to approve payment of regular claims and auditor warrants in that sequence. Under page 3, under planning and zoning, and I don't think this is a big deal, but the application was for storage units and on-site sales. Well, the planning commission recommended the storage units, but took off the on-site sales, and the applicant had agreed to that. And so I wonder, when we say we concur with planning and zoning, we shouldn't put in there that the conditions, stipulations, put under the stipulations, no on-site sales, so it's clear. Okay? And then under
If you,
That'd
you'd
be
have to,
after November 1st.
cleanup, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
None of them.
Yep. Yeah. Well, no, there's no on-site sales there at all. He wanted, at first, he originally wanted
Well,
to
he's
have,
got them now.
no, he can only sell his personal stuff. He
Yeah.
can't,
no,
that's what, that was the,
that's
yeah.
just, okay.
well, so yes, move to concur with planning and zoning, which included no on-site.
On-site
sales.
sales.
Okay.
I mean, that's where it should be,
Yeah,
because it's under planning, so it wasn't addressed on our motion, but it was concurred at planning and zoning that was.
we talked about it.
Mhm.
Can be on there, it can't be on there, but it
I-
was clear if somebody are just reading these minutes and not.
Yeah,
Yeah.
why don't you write, concur with planning and zoning to approve the conditional use permit with no, something in parentheses, no on-site sales, and then with the additional
That's
stipulations.
good too. Yeah. That explains, that tells what the planning commission came up with. And then the motion to deny, just right below that, not conducive to the agriculture area. Barry made that motion and John seconded it. So it's reversed there. And then on the very bottom, motion to establish a 1-year moratorium. Wasn't it, Barry, up to
Up to it,
1 year?
because if we,
That's all I had.
Move to approve.
Motion by Dan.
Sorry.
Second by John. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carried. Open forum. Nothing? Okay. Reports and correspondence. Ben?
On the 20th, the Historical Society met. We received a director's report and financial report. They looked financially good. Becky filled the board in on new construction and explained the move-in timeline. I was already up to date on that. She's really having a hard time getting in touch with Arvig, who is supposed to do quite a bit of in-kind work on our alarm and fire suppression system. She talked more about the 2023 membership rates, and the board was really interested in setting lifetime membership rates, which would be about 10 times an annual membership. They talked about the haunted house event at the Quonset at the fair. It'll be on the 21st and 22nd, and then on the 27th, 28th, and 29th here. They are also thinking about a sneak peek for donors on the 14th of December and an annual meeting on the 19th of December at the new museum. And Pro Resources is going to start offering a 401k, and the museum will likely take advantage of it because they are who our employees are through. On the 22nd, the building committee met. Power to the old building was shut off. They needed to remove the power lines. Elevator people were on site. Big push to get that done, like I explained, so we can get moved into the basement before weather starts to get really bad. It's looking a little more finished because all the glass is in on the second floor. We talked about a little change order on a fire panel that runs the fire suppression system. Arvik was back ordered on the one we got spec'd out for. They had a waiting list of 11 people that needed it, and it was going to completely stall us continuing to work on that, so we had to upsize it for $2,500. Laurel met on the 22nd. Our insurance is only going to go up by a 1.45% increase. We chose to work with Brady Martz instead of Ide Bailey for the coming audit. And we worked with Brady Martz previously, but prior to that, it was always Ide Bailey. Received a director's report. One of the things she mentioned, all 5th through 12th grade students in Moorhead will automatically be able to use the library and check out materials by using their student ID numbers, so they don't need a library card. And if that goes well in Moorhead, they'll try to do this in other school districts as well, likely here if that works out without too many problems. Year to date through August, Laurel had checked out 66,000 items, which was 4,000 pieces more than our pre-pandemic 2019 levels. So they are full steam ahead. As you guys know, I'll be coming off the board because I've done three-year terms, and I think you're interested in getting back on there. And I have interest of getting back on there once I'm done there. So anyway, I'll have one meeting left, maybe, or two, and then I'll be done there. On the 27th, Sunnyside met, and we took in $120,000 because the state of Minnesota finally adjusted our rate for 2022 for our Medicaid payments to what it should have been at the beginning of the year. At the end of August, we had a EBITDA of $319,000, and $120,000 that was related to COVID money. The rest is profit from operations. So we were about $200,000 in the black. Sunnyside is the only facility that Ecumen manages that has created a positive revenue. So we've got to, give a real kudos to the management and all the staff working there, because, they manage a lot of places. So that's quite a high bar that they set.
One thing Katie Lundmark said was the smaller facilities are being more reactive to staffing over, correct staffing. And the other thing was coding properly to upcode to maximum dollars to get reimbursed. So
I think that would be an ongoing training thing to make sure that that's happening.
Yeah. We also set a 2023 budget with an EBITDA of $220,000 and heard some good news that face masks and eyewear will no longer be necessary at nursing homes unless there's an outbreak in your.
Outbreak is one.
Unless.
That's what it's categorized.
Yeah. Not if they catch that person before they've had contact with anybody, from what I understand, and they are able to. Like, if that person comes in and tests, they can just separate. I don't know if that's an outbreak, but if they've been around the facility. On the 28th, Library Improvements Committee met. We received 3 bids from Hammers, Brislin, and Ledgestone. Ledgestone was the low bid, coming in at $88,210. Plus, they gave us 3 small options on some things that they noticed weren't in the architectural specs for the bid package. Let's see. Discussion whether there should be manual automatic toilets. We talked about the sinks. There's going to be a meeting on this Wednesday regarding colors and tiles and stuff. It was decided, okay, let's see. Yeah, that base bid was $88,210. The options were an additional 3,700 for a total of 91,910. And then we left the option of the library director and board chair to establish a contingency fund of $8,090. So the total project cost was not to exceed 100,000, and that's how much we got donated to us in order to do this. Okay, and then on the 29th, the building committee met. I'm just gonna look for anything real interesting. They're gonna take down the fences and hand out keys because all the door hardware is in. They had to redo some of the backing for the overhead doors because there was some change in the doors that they had ordered. They're working on the coffee shop, gift shop, and exhibit hall now. Plumbing was tested and passed. The rails in the car were set for the elevator. The sump pump was running quite a bit. They did just run a whole new line directly into the storm sewer. I think the city did that for us. They received permanent power last week to the new building. Fire suppression was 90% complete for the rough-ins. And next week, they're going to demo the entrance into the theater and connect the buildings. And we're at about 200,000 in total change orders. And our contingency allowed us to have 150, so we're about 50,000 over budget. But that big internet box, that we had to, that really wiped out most of it. And then we're ready for the building to come down anytime whenever Haug can get off of the projects on Westlake Drive and come knock it down.
When's the completion date
When was ours?
for the museum?
Well, it was supposed to be done in October, but it's probably going to be working on it through the end of December.
To me, it was a very slow starting process. But
Well, yeah.
as Minnie Key Johnson, just have one or two people on site. And
Yeah, exactly.
Done, Ben?
Yep.
Thanks. Busy guy.
Yeah, it was busy.
John?
At airport, we will be reviewing hangar agreement leases and possible deposits with those. Supposed to have a meeting this Wednesday. They're postponed. We'll have one in November to approve this stuff. Bids for the fuel system out there is supposed to be coming in mid-November, and we'll be both fuel system and parking lot improvements. Probably won't get done till starting May and 23. We did submit the capital improvement plan for 23 through 27. I'll go to MnDOT and FAA to see if they approve. And our airport expansion phases 1 and 4 are complete. 2 and 3 are about ready to be closed out for final. So that whole project should be coming to an end on the original. I did attend the open house for the Lifelink out there. There's quite a few people out there. Pretty impressive. And they've been really fairly busy, way more than they thought to start. So it's working well for them.
Well, they said, I think didn't the hospital contract with them now to do a lot of flights is what?
Yeah, I asked one of them out there, what happens if you got to transfer some from the hospital here to Fargo or wherever. I said, they bring them to Adams? No, we start up and land there, pick them up. Because we want to take them from right out of the emergency room, our own equipment, our own staff, and get them in. Instead of passing them off, they want to.
Yeah, I think I told you they landed on Becker 4, and they stopped traffic, and it was quite a while. And you start wondering that's not that far out of Detroit Lakes. How much time are they saving? Because the alert was there, the fire departments, the volunteer fire departments are all there. I'm like, I wonder if you could get and that's, I'm like, are you sure you couldn't just get an ambulance?
Transfer them to here or Fargo?
I don't know.
Fargo, I could see this.
Yeah.
But it's local.
They call them pretty quick.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. I think they go regardless, and they landed on and that was one thing I was asking. Can't they just? They were sitting on the county road in traffic. That's a busy road, and it was. I don't know how long it was, but it was a while. And you're like,
Is this gonna be common occurrence now, or I don't think it's, you have to keep an eye on that.
Then they had on display too, they're pretty good sized aircraft that they go for longer distance or very inclement weather versus the helicopters. When things get rough out, they apparently won't fly.
Yeah.
So it's a nice facility and they really like being out there. Fuel system for them, they're still loading fuel for the helicopters out of a bulk truck that they have because it's all going to be tested and certified. But once a new system is in at the airport, then they would buy fuel there because then it has to be tested periodically or monthly or every load coming in. Make sure it's the correct stuff. So
How did that get paid for? Did the joint board just approve that out of your guys' general fund or?
no, we can to build out there.
No, the fuel system.
That's coming out of some of the grant money from MnDOT, FAA, and
Is there a local match
there'll be some, but probably 5 to 10%.
like everything else?
Yeah, they'll come out of our fund balance from the big construction.
You're sitting pretty good with that.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, you guys kind
We
of
got
are able
money,
to budget in
yeah.
the whole thing. Okay.
So, but Sheriff's Committee, like, most of that is on the board agenda. We did discuss need for a floor scrubber and a bathroom cleaner scrubber for the jail for all the stuff that's happening out there. They got some inmates that smear stuff all over the walls and bathrooms, and this is a more of an automated machine that come in and really speed up the process of cleaning rather than going and have to hand scrub the stuff off. So I think it's well needed, and we can process of getting pricing on it. Also, last week I did have one watershed, one district meeting down in Otter Tail. We kind of approved the original one plan. It'll be submitted to Bowser after we have a public review of 60 days till end in November. There'll be an update, I believe, next board meeting, Pat. Brian from Soil and Water, Tara, and the new guy from East Otter Tail will be in to just update us all on it, where it's at. One thing that by the end of November, we have to approve an implementation committee. And one of us will have to be appointed to that. It goes from the planning to implementation. Just another, we'll get sample resolution on that to move forward. So that's all I had.
Okay, Barry.
Extension, we were introduced to Elliot Lawrence. It's the new 4-H coordinator. And we also talked about, it's in our packet. It wasn't too well explained, but we want to amend our document with extension, because we want the part-time person, we want to have them county employed rather than extension employed, because then we can direct them to do stuff more for the fair and not just after-school projects, so that's what that's about in our packet. It's in our budget, and we just said, well, we think it should be county directed, so he or she can help locally rather than just do more after-school projects or those type of things. We can discuss that a little bit better later. 22, the 4-H participation in 22, the exhibits were up in 22 to 1159 compared to 945 in 21. And 196 youth exhibited something at pre-fair or fair events. Go through. We had some state fair people down there and did very well, and we had actually one, Thea Matson, got to the auction site, so she scored high enough, so she got on the auction, which is a pretty significant. I think it was Thea. It was pretty significant to get to that level. And we also had some of the 4-Hers went to Washington earlier and went and did a tour of the Washington tour. So Larry and I were at NRM. let me look here. Talked about that county access, or David Rozo's survey and his access to the tax forfeit land. He wants that road surveyed, and we agreed that was good. We're looking at Bucks Mills continuing, and Larry, were we going to just talk about that a little bit here? If we should continue on with that
Well, there was a medical issue apparently, and there's some,
Buck Mills?
yeah, wasn't the seller, didn't he have a medical condition?
Oh, yeah, I don't know, but are we looking, because I discussed that with the commissioner of DNR, and this is legacy fund money, so their hands are kind of tied on
10% over is all they can spend.
So-
Appraised value.
and we can't, and what's dumb is we should be able to add to that, but there are some rules, and I talked to, what's his name? What's his name that presented to us, the fishery guy? Nick Lemke? No.
Clunt?
Yeah, anyway, he just said that that's very restricted, and we can't do it, so I guess I'm looking for a direction. Should we look at going out to purchase that ourselves or
I think
looking
we
at?
have to have it play out where it's at right now. They haven't responded, so because there's a medical issue, this is what we were told, so I think we have to kind of play it out, but
Oh,
I mean, I don't
thought,
know that, in my opinion, you guys, and you know what my opinion is that, I mean, if the DNR can't spend more than 10% of the appraisal, I don't think any government entity should be spending more than 10% of the appraisal. That's what the appraised value is. That's my opinion.
yeah.
I won't be here.
Well, and I think we should continue on the discussions and try to find an avenue, because that's and it's possible that they can still do that
They absolutely
rock-
can do it.
that
That's what
rock
Nick-
river.
Is it Clute?
That could.
Yeah, Nick Clute. He said he's the one who really started us down this path of either, sell or not sell, and if we don't sell, we can still do the project, so. But
There's
I
some-
see the value.
there's
I
some
mean, I see the
question
value in it.
whether they can do it the same way. It's a shorter version, and it's not as,
No.
but
I was looking at colors with my family on Sunday, and we went through there, and there were a couple cars parked, and obviously that trail, which is on that property that we would like to get, there were people on it, so
I don't know.
I think that we
and
should.
appraisals are kind of a finicky thing. So if you're looking at purchase land, would you buy that? Would that be more saleable if you owned it or if it was public property? I mean, and at what value? I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that appraisal either myself. I mean, I think it has more value. If I'm the landowner, would you give that amount to keep people away from you and have that much more waterfront? I mean, it's all in one's, it's all general. I mean, there's no exact science and what this is worth to one person compared to another.
Well, the sad thing about appraisals and the history is that the appraised value comes in pretty much to the asking value of the property. That's another opinion of mine, is that you'll see that happen over and over again, is that when that appraisal is made, they know what the asking value is and it comes in very close to that. That's just how it is. I read it wrong.
Well, it depends on your appraisal. I mean, an assessment or an appraisal, you can have 10 people go out there and you'll have 10 different numbers. I mean, it's not an exact science by any stretch.
What number you want to end up with?
That's it. You know that.
Yeah.
That's
If you-
something I'd say.
Yeah.
If you want it at an auction, the appraisal is one step higher than what the last one's willing to go.
Yeah.
But wasn't the talk, we could secure the land with some recreation money, and it wasn't a great expense, and then sell it back for, I mean, aren't we talking about a seriously small amount of money here?
I think their asking price at the last was 30,000.
Right. So, and was it within a few grand of what?
Well, I think wasn't the appraised price like 15? Yeah, so we doubled.
Oh,
There's quite a difference there.
I thought we were
Well, we had a
around
deal.
24,000.
Well,
That's what sticks in my craw. We had a
The
deal.
thing that you're talking about too is some of the other expenses that were going along with that. So if we could have done that, it wasn't gonna cost us that much. I mean, it was only
I
gonna
thought
be
it was like
like
6 grand.
5,000.
Yeah.
But with that all falling apart, it's not. That's falling apart too.
Well, I'm in favor of continuing to move forward with it. I don't
We are
know
moving.
what it
We're
ends
still
up costing.
negotiating.
Oh,
Whatever.
okay.
Another easement was granted. we had a request to move the Juggler Lake access road to the north, and then they wanted us to incur some expense, and we were, I think we agreed if they wanted to move it, that's fine, but it was actually moving it, was it moving, Larry, you went out there and looked at it, didn't
No,
you?
we're going to though, and Mitch sent out a email, but you weren't on the list, so I was gonna bring that up today, is that there's a meeting set at, is it October 20th at 10 o'clock? I'm not sure what the date was, but to meet out there with the Jody Yelanimi, who's a contractor. I don't remember who else was gonna be out there, but yours wasn't on the list.
Yeah, well, when he asked, you were the only
Well,
one that
I've
said you
been
wanted,
there, yeah.
but I guess I didn't.
You didn't want to go?
I didn't say I was
Okay.
going to go. I don't know if he took that as. We were talking about the possibility of increasing the hunting camp leases, and would be we emphasize that should be a small amount, not, remember last time it was jumped high amount, and maybe an annual review rather than every 10 years, and it jumps so high that. Look at vehicle replacement of a vehicle, request to hire a summer interim to do stand-in evaluation, looking at that, and budget for extra and for forest road maintenance, and that's not general levy, that would be out of some of the. Anything else on NRM, Larry?
Yeah, let's see. We're gonna meet with the DNR over that conservation land. I don't know if you guys were copied on any of those emails we got from Steve and from Todd, but there's a couple of parcels in Becker County that the conservation program bought from a nonprofit conservation program bought from Potlatch, and they're interested in selling it back to the DNR, and the DNR is working with all the counties in all the Potlatch land to see if they're interested in purchasing. If you remember, Dan had identified two parcels, one over by Osage, and then one over on the other side of 113. And Todd was just up there. Did you read any of them bylaws that they have? Because it's absolutely clear that that land is open to the public.
Correct, and I did get the photo of that sign.
Yeah.
with the name on it.
Did you try to find that guy on our list? I couldn't find him on their list as of employees or members or anything, so I wonder. Might be bogus. Could be.
That wouldn't happen.
That could happen up in that country. So we're gonna meet with the DNR on that. Talked about the Juggler Lake Road. We had some talk about the Dunton Locks tram and the repair it's gonna need and what they're gonna have to do to pull that out. Discussed the fall timber sale, tax forfeited house in Frazee is cleaned out. Now we're gonna get some quotes for demolition. Again, we discussed the budget and the rates and increases on leases and the number of leases, I guess. About it, I think, on the
Yeah, and bed covered Sunnyside, just again, very happy with our bottom line there. That's incredible. And then with the COVID money, that really helped us out too. Actually, and then we had Lakeland Mental Health, and if you know, they're adding on to the building up in Moorhead, and that's all done within our fund balance, and so that's why the fund balance were built up. And they're doing very well. Nothing really much to report on that. I'll hand out a couple north or extension things if you want to look at. Some extension, some pamphlets. Otherwise, let's see, I think that was it. Lakeland Health, Extension, Sunnyside, Highway Building. We're going out there to tour the building, and I think they poured
I haven't been there.
they poured the big hole, the warm storage for the plows. They poured that in three pours. So on Wednesday, the first pour was done, and they were going to do the second one. I think they've probably done the second one now, and the third one will be. It got pushed back a little bit, but well within.
Because the roofing was running.
Yeah, they're trying to get the roofing finished so we can get it all sealed up before too late. Because if we start having later pours, then it's going to be more expensive for the concrete.
That'll run her hot and chloride if it gets cold. Costs more money. I had a sheriff's committee meeting, and most of it is before the board. The only thing I would say is that we're doing a lot better, Todd. Staffing, we're pretty much caught up now on staffing. I'm talking your department and the jail.
Yes, I've got one down yet, but all my open positions are to be taken care of here next week at the sheriff's office. still down at the jail.
It's still
We're
down.
getting
You're not down 3 though, are you?
out there.
Yeah.
I think we're at 2 now.
2? Barry covered NRM. I had an environmental meeting. We had a MRF update, and we're going to be visiting that site today. The only notable thing on that whole thing was that fiber screen that we talked about this morning that would help with the glass situation. But you guys maybe saw in the minutes, Steve puts out the minutes like a book. If you read them, $1.126 million for that fiber screen. It's a lot of money.
You know, one thing that I think should happen here is that we take glass out of the recycling stream completely.
Well, that's kind of
It's
what
no-
he was
it's no
talking about
value.
this morning, I know.
It's no value.
What's the
Don't-
big deal about doing that? You know, there's very little glass really in the household anymore, I think, is there?
Well, there's quite a bit of glass, but I mean, if there's no value to it, if it costs more to hold it and, I mean, you're just doing it to get tonnage. I mean, pull that out, I mean, it would have to be state. It couldn't be locally, obviously, but the state needs to recognize that there's no value to that, and if you want to reduce it, put a fee on it for producing glass. I mean, obviously, there's some things that need to be glass, but it's just
The
no
biggest
value.
problem in the recycling stream for sure.
And if it's single sort and you start breaking glass, well, that just puts danger in everything.
That fiber screen does a lot more than that, but that's another side. I think Steve's gonna talk about that there maybe a little bit.
Talking an awful lot with those price tags.
Yeah, well, Better Futures program is going well. That's the reuse program. We had talked about staffing proposals. Talked about that today a little bit too.
One thing I was kind of concerned about too is adding on for the reuse and adding on to the building.
Oh,
For
yeah,
that. I was like that. I was like, seriously, it's like a big rummage sale. You're not gonna make a lot of money off it.
A huge rubbing sale. Yeah.
I mean, unless you can turn stuff over quicker.
Yeah. Well, we had a discussion on the well, and we decided that we're gonna go with a well over a storage tank because that storage tank takes up so much room in the pump and stuff, and I'm pretty confident that the well situation is gonna work there, hopefully.
Yeah, well, every well's different, but there's a good chance that well would
The
give us
data
all
out
the
there
water
shows,
we
in
need.
the area shows that it will, yeah.
And it's a lot cheaper to do it that way, and
What's
tank
the
takes up a lot of
what's the
room.
life expectancy then of that well?
Well,
I mean, is that pretty solid? You're gonna get that water volume for a long
yeah,
time?
it'll stay.
Yeah, and the problem with that well is to pay that kind of money and it might never, ever, ever, ever be,
Well, hopefully never.
hopefully not, yeah, but that's the situation. 7 to 8 ICWA crew members, had some eddy current repair. And I did not get to my Prairie Lakes Municipal Solid Waste meeting because I had an appointment in Fargo that day, but Steve went and you read the minutes. The high point of that is that steam sales are up 200,000 and the recycling is 337,000 over budget, which is very helpful. And you know, we had a very small increase in our tip fee this year, so that's all I have. Richard?
Yeah, I don't have any.
Okay.
Hey, I got a question.
Yeah.
When we had the fire at the transfer station, did Ledgestone get the contract?
They did,
That's what I thought. And they did a good job.
they did. There was some issues with timeliness, but he did a good job, yeah. Appointment,
think that's very I mean, it's
typical.
especially now in construction. Timing is.
Appointments.
Yeah, Commissioners, you got before you just an email. I just wanted to put a summary together on the positions that we need the board's support on and filling for the Benefits Committee. The Benefits Committee is in your packet here on page 7. It's required that we select, per the policy that the board's approved, 3 county department head supervisors, 2 county commissioners, and 2 non-supervisory, non-bargaining unit employees. Out of the 8 bargaining units so far, 4 have responded with candidates. We're still waiting for the others. We don't need board approval for those. But what we have here based on, emails that have been sent out to department heads and ongoing discussion, we've had people that have requested to be on the committee. The department heads that we're asking the board to support are Lisa Will and Denise Warren, Supervisor Nicole Ecker, and then non-union, non-supervisor employees, Jessica Wiedemeyer and Amanda Packel. The 2 county commissioners, we would leave up for the board to fill in the blank on that. And that completes our portion of it. And then we'll be waiting for the last 2 or 3 bargaining units to respond with their candidates. And our hope is to have a benefits committee prior to our benefits fair, because we think that's the kind of the kickoff of that committee.
we need to approve the bylaw?
No, bylaws have already been approved. They were approved on June 7th, but I just quoted the bylaws just to show we need board approval for these items. And so we have a recommendation here, but then we'd ask for the board to also, what two commissioners would be interested in serving on the benefits committee.
Serving on this committee.
I am.
Ken? I suppose Barry too. You kind of spearheaded this thing. Did you not?
Well, no, this is just about health insurance.
Oh,
and
okay.
stuff like
You're
that.
talking about then the other committee. It kind of goes along though. Benefits are benefits. You want to be out there? You don't look like it. John? Richard?
I can. If Richard, unless Richard wants to.
I don't know if I'd be good at it, but
Well, I can't answer that.
Why don't we just put Ben as and then any other, just have to coordinate between John and I if
Yeah.
we can, for
We can
which one's
make-
available, we can
yeah.
kind of alternate.
All can be alternates.
Just put everyone else as an alternate.
yeah, I'll be an alternate.
Okay. Is that okay with you, Ben?
Yep.
All right. So we'll entertain a motion then to appoint Ben to the committee.
So moved.
Motion by John.
Mr. Chair, second, and Mr. Chair, and
You want to do all the other members at the same time?
yeah,
That's
I
fine.
think,
Okay, Lisa Will, Denise Warren, Nicole
as
Becker.
maybe list John or list one of us as the alternate or as the second, and all other commissioners as alternates in case of everyone missing.
John
if
on
that's-
second, all others as alternates. And then the other committee members that would recommend. All right,
Agreed.
a motion in a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carries.
Chair, who made the second? John did, Commissioner Oaks.
Mr. Chair, while we're on this
John made the
subject,
motion, Barry seconded.
I just wanted to say the 1+1 you said was a $700 savings.
Mhm.
And you know how Nancy Gerbansky didn't want to do that because she thought it would rob the pool from our family, so the family premiums would spike. But it obviously doesn't do that on PEEP, so we should have done this several years ago, our oversight. But then I just wanted to say, I'm a Minsure certified broker. If there's a few families left on family, they should talk to somebody like me or anybody else, because they might be able to find coverage for some of their other family members that get subsidized based on the premiums that PEEP offers for family insurance. And then maybe they could do a 1+1 here and get other insurance.
I think you're bringing up a great opportunity and that was the reason for the benefits fair to begin with, is to make sure people could discuss prior to making selections what their options are. And so if there are companies, regardless of who's part of them, that want to be part of that benefits fair to provide that gap. Just to kind of clarify what you had said earlier, you're right on there is savings for people that go to family to 1+1. There isn't a spike, but there is a slight increase in family, which I'm going to go through.
There is.
Yeah, a slight, but again, we just got the numbers, and so we'll review those with you here as part of my report.
The two certified brokers in town are Lindsay Wimmer of the Wimmer Insurance Agency and me.
Okay.
For that. So our HR person, if they're, realizing, hey, this person is going to have trouble with this insurance plan, they should probably talk to one of us and maybe.
It's a great idea.
Okay, we're gonna deal with Pelican River.
Yes, that's the next
Ben,
appointment.
did
Yep.
you want more time?
No, I wanna make an appointment if you guys did you guys get a chance to read through this? Mr. Chair, I'll make a motion to appoint Lori Olson to the unexpired term of Jenny Imholt to the Pelican River Watershed Board.
Motion by Ben,
Second.
second by John. Any discussion?
Mr. Chair, it's nice to see two people interested. Obviously, it's pretty short summaries of either one. I think where I lean more to, and I don't know either one very, but where I lean more towards Lori is she's got a couple letters that I've received of recommendation. And Chuck's, I think he's got good, what he's got here is good, but I'm not sure. One thing I noticed in there, it said I'd consider taking the position. So it tends to be more towards Lori's too, so.
He has pretty good credentials there. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, hearing none, motion carried. Set road tour date. What do you got, Jim?
I just want to check on availability. Typically, we've been holding a road tour the last week of October, for the second meeting, the last week. I don't know if that works, depending on condition. I will mention, we have a lot of projects that are, closer to the city, so we probably won't need the full 8 to 12 trips or whatever it is. And we have other areas you want to visit while we're out around, we can do that if ideas, but we did all the big projects around town and maybe look at a future project too. But, yeah, the Tuesday, Wednesday work on that, 25th, 26th, 27th.
We have NRM Barry on Tuesday, I have Prairie Lakes Municipal Solid Waste on Wednesday, and I have environmental on Thursday of that week.
Right, 24th on Monday, I don't know.
I'm open, but
Yeah, Lakeland Mental Health on Monday morning.
I'm out of town all that week,
All
South
that week?
Dakota, so.
We want to look at like the 20th of October. I know you said you meant to get that Becker Lake.
yeah, that's the 10 o'clock Barry on the 20th.
What's that?
See it on my calendar.
The what?
That Juggler Lake.
Oh,
I-
21st?
On Friday.
21st, we've got
Friday morning?
a district, AMC district meeting, what I've got written down here.
Just coming up.
I could do the 20th, but did you guys say that was a problem?
Larry said that.
Well, I don't need to be on the road tour, especially around town. I
Yeah,
can still
I-
meet my meeting. You guys can do it on the 20th. I don't need to be there.
I have West Central Juvenile Center meeting.
On
I
the
have a
20th?
Juvenile Center meeting that morning.
Oh, okay.
So I need to be there.
19th, we could do it in place of our highway meeting.
That works for me.
My meeting is you, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can do that. And we're talking from like
8:15
8:30 or 30 till,
10:30.
yeah, that sounds good.
That works.
Do you want to push our public works meeting back up?
Push back a day.
Oh, well, or, yeah, I could, yeah, a day would
Or
be
we
fine
can do
too.
it later than-
Just right afterwards, but they might, if we're not sure what timing, you decide on, you ask them, maybe we can skip a week there too, 8:30 or 8:15?
I put 8:30 if that works for you guys.
8:30, the 21st?
Take off at 8:30, so,
Courthouse?
Highway?
Highway?
Highway
Highway
building.
building, yeah,
Okay.
we'll have a bus over there,
New highway building? Or old highway building?
full highway building.
All right, Mary, do we have to have that public hearing at 9 o'clock? Yeah. We'll skip the county administrator for now.
Thought the applicant was going to attend, but I don't see that he's here. Mr. Peterson has purchased the Two Inlets Country Store. They currently have on-sale liquor. He has applied for off-sale liquor. The application has been approved by the county attorney and the sheriff, and we were to take public comment.
Mr. Chair, do you want a motion to open the public meeting? So moved.
Motion by Dan,
Second.
second by Barry. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Both same sign, hearing none, motion carried.
I don't know if you want to check and see if anyone has any comment online.
There's a few people on that you don't see there. What's going to send the name card?
Okay, we've opened the public hearing for comment on off-sale liquor for Up North Circus LLC, doing business as Two Inlets Country Store, Robert Peterson, owner. Is there anyone online that would like to comment?
Better ask again.
Is there anyone online that would like to comment on the public hearing for off-sale liquor at Two Inlets Country Store? Is there anyone online that would like to comment on the public hearing for off-sale liquor at Two Inlets Country Store?
I'll move to close the public hearing.
Motion by Ben to close,
Second.
second by John. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carried.
I'll move to approve the off-sale liquor license for Two Inlets
Motion by Ben,
Country Store.
Second.
second by Barry. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mary. County Administrator.
Sure. Thank you, Chair, and Commissioners. So we were all part of the joint governance meeting, as you know. The next one will be, that was this morning, for the public to be aware of that. Next one will be scheduled for January 3rd, 2023 at 7 a.m. in Detroit Lakes. There is the annual or biannual township meeting that's scheduled for October 20th at 7 p.m. In the third floor conference room. We have posted it already. We'll send an email agenda to the commissioners, those that wish to attend. And moving forward, since Commissioner Grimsley had brought up insurance, let's just segue to that. So I put an email out to the board on the insurance rates. And as you recall, when we approved the bargaining unit contracts, one of the negotiated items was to implement a 1+1 plan. So when we first got the rates, the rates did not include the 1+1 plan. So we asked for PEEP to resend those rates. They did. We just got those in, and I just wanted to do a little bit of bean counting since it was kind of talked about. So essentially, it still holds true that the what we had said in the email, we had budgeted for a 6% increase in insurance. That's holding at about a 5% increase, so less than we budgeted for. As you're aware, we pay the amount of the single plan, and then any balance is paid for by the employee. But we had to get the 1+1 numbers back in, and so he did resend those, and I'll just go through them very briefly, and of course I'll email them to you. We just received these from PEEP, and so the for someone to move from a family plan to this 1+1 plan, their savings per month will be anywhere from $569, because again, we have 3 tiers of plans, to $813 a month. That'll be the savings from going from family to 1+1, if they're eligible to do that, and if they can do that. To the point that Commissioner Grimsley had mentioned, there is going to be a slight increase in the family as the result of the 1+1 plan, and that increase can be anywhere from, again, the 3 tiers of plans, anywhere from $105 to $151 per month, depending on which plan that you use. So that's the information that we received from PEEP, and we would have liked to have just emailed it to you in a very formal way, but because they missed the 1+1, we'll have them put that together and send it to you. But we felt it was good conversation to have.
Mr. Chair, can we have our benefits committee convene and have the representatives vote on putting that in there then, so we don't, make the decision without them to, because that'll impact, I mean, a slight increase, I wouldn't say $150 a month is slight.
No, I mean, it's an increase. Yeah, I think what I would suggest is the benefits committee is not there to vote. It's advisory to review the process. But I would expect this will be an ongoing discussion in our bargaining contract negotiations when they start on what the role the county's investment will be in the program and the requests the bargaining units might have. I would say that the number of people in the family plan, and I think you alluded to this, is small, and there's a lot of reasons for that. It could be because it's very expensive, but there's a small amount of individuals in there, but people that really do need to have that family plan. So we're going to be looking at a lot of options, and also discussion during negotiations on what we can do.
Right, but if we didn't add the 1+1, then the family plans wouldn't get that increase. So I think our committee that we have needs to advise this board on whether, the people they represent would like us to implement a 1+1, I'm assuming they would.
Sure.
But-
And I may not have been clear here. We have an MOA that we approved during our 2022 negotiations that indicated we are going to implement a 1+1 plan for 2023.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
They
so-
already asked for it.
Yeah, and that was a while ago, but it was an MOA. It's something that they signed, we signed, we've initiated.
Okay.
And the other items too, we're, developing a wage study, those items, and all those are complete. But yeah, this was a contractually obligation that we had to perform. And I've experienced this before in working with other counties. There are ways to address the family cost. And I think we will talk about it through benefits committee is a great idea, but also through contract negotiations as well. So it was really information for you on what we received. And I'll continue unless there are no other questions. Moving forward, Safe Assure did a couple of things for us. Of course, they're our safety contractor. We did CPR and AED training for those that were interested in having training. These were what I would call our civilians, our non-law enforcement, non-correction, non-highway individuals. We had about 80 people that responded, went through the training across all those departments. Facilities, if you're not aware, manages all the EDs, make sure there's a charge in them, make sure all the equipment is there. And but there was certainly people interested in doing that training, and Safe Assure was able to do that. So the other item that Safe Assure just finished with us is they completed an OSHA inspection of all our buildings. And what that means is they act like OSHA would, and they come into each building, do a full inspection. The information that's been completed, I provided to facilities. And what my plan was, unless the board objects to it, is just to forward each report on to the designated committee that covers that building. But we met with the facilities manager first to kind of review the items. It was actually quite a good review. In fact, Safe Assure indicated that there were certainly some items, but very much on the low end. And he expressed congratulations to staff in making sure we're meeting the requirements from an OSHA standpoint. So you'll probably be getting those if you sit on those committees. And then, like I said, facilities is ongoing, working on those. One of the events that I'll actually be attending, and as will the HR director, Carrie Smith, is the MACA Macrame Conference. That's the Minnesota Association of County Administrators, and then the equivalent HR people. It's in Deerwood. It's a 2-day event for all people in those areas, and a number of good presentations and trainings and benchmarking will be around. So this Thursday and Friday, you will not see either one of us. That's where we'll be. One other thing, just a segue, and I said this at a previous meeting, but I wanted to make sure that even though we've reviewed now PEEP, I just wanted to emphasize, and I'm sure the board remembers this, that all other insurances, and I'll just go through the list: life insurance, long-term disability, short-term disability, critical illness, accident insurance, hospital insurance, benefits, enrollment, the costs are all staying the same. They're not going up. The two insurances where they've gone down because of the RFP the board approved was dental and vision. Those went down significantly, actually. So again, in the greater picture of insurances, I mean, I'm pleased at least what I'm seeing, but again, I think there's some things that we can discuss relating to people. And then moving on, I think one other item, and I'm just going to hand this out. We've been doing quite a bit of work and quite a bit of due diligence on, retention of employees, and sort of the reason why individuals leave. I want to make sure that the board and the public understands kind of the exit interview process for employees. Exit interviews are voluntary. People do not have to do exit interviews. When I came on board on December 20th, we had a more informal process. We had meetings, documented the reason people left. We formalized those, as you know. I think you saw those in emails to you, where we have a more complex document. But in all situations, we've always been able to understand why people have left and given them the opportunity to provide buy-in for that. I would say this: if there are individuals that you're hearing, whether former employees that have left, that either didn't get an exit interview or now would like to complete an exit interview, they have every ability to do so. contact the Human Resources Department and we'll send you a form. But when people leave, I know the Human Resources Department is committed not only to mailing it to their address, hopefully giving that to them in person and having a meeting, but really making the effort to make sure we want the information. We really want to know and learn, the reasons people may leave. And I will tell you, we certainly can't say why people leave, but I will tell you a good share of it is self-interest. I mean, elevating positions, being able to do things that they hadn't done before. I think the document that I've put before you is an outline of the last few years of exits. And again, we can't deal with names, but we can deal with numbers. And we look from 2019 to 2022. In 2019, 34 people exited from the county at Becker County. In 2020, 26 did. In 2021, 51 did. Sizable amount, big difference. In 2022, at least year to date, it's 46. So what's very interesting here is you're seeing a trend here of an increase. And, what's the thing that sits in between those two is COVID, the pandemic. And we've done quite a bit of research and reviewed a lot of papers. And there's been a big effect, from pre to post COVID about employees and really what they value and where they want to work and in locations, but also the type they work. They're reevaluating their careers. And so we're seeing a lot of that. And like I said, the exit interviews really bear that out. And the comparison data I thought you might find interesting is when you look at December 20th, 2021 through September of 2022, it's 46. That's the number that you see above there. If you go back a year from them and use the same dates, the numbers of people exiting is 43. So very similar from the previous year. You're probably asking why I used December 20th. December 20th was the day I was hired. I thought that was a good starting point. On June 23rd, 2022, there was an article that came out and somebody was quoted saying 50 plus employees have left since January 1. The actual number is 27, based on actual data review. So, and you're hearing a lot of social media, a lot of information that 50, 60 people have left. As of June 23rd, when that article came out, it was 27. But if you look at the year before, if you go December 20th, the 2020 to June 23rd, 2021, a year before, it's 29. So it's very interesting how 21 and 2022 compare to each other, just like 19 and 20 does. And really the obvious thing is the effects of the pandemic and how it's affected people's working habits and what their expectations are. But again, the exit interviews are the most valuable. I think they certainly buy into that sentiment. But very clearly, we hope people complete the exit interviews, but we can't require that they do. It's not a requirement. But certainly if individuals have missed completing an exit interview, I hope they give the HR a call because we love the data. Because I think what is created for us since I started in December 20th is we've done a number of things, and I know you're aware of it as a board. We've made mandatory annual reviews, so everyone is doing annual reviews. It was a little lackadaisical prior to that, but now everyone is doing them. Individuals are being encouraged to complete the exit interviews. We do onboard training, and we're modernizing that. We do this kind of data review. So all these things are very important. The benefits committee, engaging employees, allowing them to participate in the process. The department head committees. So all of those are really bringing people together and engaging individuals. I've even, met every human services unit in my last few months. Just met with them as a group and engaged with them and hearing their thoughts and their questions and things like that. So I felt it was important for you to see that data, and we're going to continue to show it to you as things come out. And I think it's really important. And like I said, I'll answer any questions that you have.
Question?
I was familiar with some of this data because I asked you about it when I was campaigning back in July. But appreciate you briefing the whole board on it.
Okay. One more thing on your list there?
Yeah, budget review.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, so but the report's over with. The budget review, We're in the work session mode now, so we've got a little over 2 months, a little more than 2 months before we get to, our TNT hearing and certifying the levy. I know some department heads get a good share of reviewing things through the committee, but what our plan was, and we wanted to get buy-in from the board, is to bring some of the departments that I think many of you probably haven't been involved with. Probation was mentioned as one, so we're going to invite them at the next board meeting. But certainly other departments that are asking to make investments in personnel, we're working with them to make sure they get all their data together. But we would like them to also present to the board. But I also don't want to be just having presentations before the board for the sake of presentation. So I was looking to get some feedback from the board on any specific departments they'd like to see or any other research you would like us to do beyond the ongoing work we're doing with each department relating to the 2023 budget.
I think Ben had some questions and that was fine.
Well, for probation, definitely, yeah.
Yeah.
I looked at a lot of the other budgets, there's areas, where we could trim 15,000, 20,000 and that, you can end up saving 100,000 pretty easily. And what ends up happening is we really, bank that money usually. So if the board wants to get down to 5%, I don't think we'll have trouble doing that.
Anybody else?
Well, we're continuing to work
Right.
with departments one-on-one and through the committee process, but we'll certainly get those scheduled for the next board meeting. And then the final thing I had shared was the ARPA project, which Amanda really puts the sheet up there. There are a couple items that are future agenda items, and I didn't want to go through the whole list with you, but I'll certainly answer any questions that you have. But through the committee structure, we've got a request for the scanning quotes to be considered at this meeting, and that'll be later on. If you look at what's on the screen there, the things that are highlighted in green are items that you've given the go-ahead on, and they're moving forward. Things that are listed as orange and the scanning project, that's one of them. The other one, you can keep it right there. The other one is an IT server storage upgrade, and Judy will be here to talk about that. We need one for the other. So the scanning project is going to create a lot of data that needs to be saved, and of course, then we need the IT space to be able to do that, amongst other things. And I'm going to let those department heads speak about that. But those are the two items that are before you. A couple of additional items that I added that are new is the tram that's been brought to my attention as something to consider. We don't have any data on that, but it's a new project. And then we'll have again some ongoing things as data comes in. The plow equipment, since you have approved that, that's been colored green. So you did get an email from me about the intake redesign for the intake valves. And the email I put to you, and the reason we wanted to authorize it immediately is it's become a real health issue. I know the sheriff has communicated with me a number of times and his staff that ongoing is smelling exhaust. In our last department head meeting, we all smelled a significant amount of exhaust just by people just driving by here. And it's because the intakes are so low. Moving them up higher eliminates that completely. And in the wintertime, it's obviously exacerbated because the people are idling their vehicles and they're just, the exhaust keeps on building up. So the focus I really wanted to give to you was just on those two items, which I know they're going to talk about more in detail, but I certainly can answer any other questions or new ideas you'd like me to add to the list.
Mr. Chair, what happened with that quote we got on raising the ventilation?
It was sent to you,
Yeah,
emailed to you? Yep.
and then we never took action on it, though. Are you requesting that we do?
Well, you certainly supported it in previous reviews. Certainly, if you'd like to take action now, that'd be great. I mean, it's a health issue. It's a safety issue. It needed to be changed. And like I said, staff, department heads, we're living it. And so we wanted to move on it. But certainly, the board wants to endorse it and give other direction, please do.
I don't have it up, and I don't remember. Was there a few quotes? I just seen the one.
Yeah, we only had one. That's all we could get. Brett Brislin had, I think, had discussed it at earlier board meetings, and it's sort of a specialty type of situation. And we were fortunate to get the quote that we did, and there's a timeline to get that complete.
What was the cost again?
About 62,000.
62?
Yep.
Has there been any looking at blocking off an area so there's no parking in that area or no?
I think we've looked at all those options. I think and I don't want to steal your thunder, Sheriff, but as you've explained it to me, there's exhaust coming in just from the sides of the road where people are parking on the side that are going in there. Mm.
Yeah, especially all of
Mhm. Mhm. And of course, here it's contained, so it's rather significant. Like I said, our last department head meeting, I think we all smelled the exhaust and while we were meeting here.
You want to deal with it?
When we have something in front of us, is again, I suppose.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Mhm.
no, I was looking through our financial, report, and it looked like we hadn't recognized all of the ARPA money yet on our balance sheet. Oh, okay.
So seeing part of it on the report and then the other parts in the,
Well, it should all be under the report. I don't know if you just got it and it's not.
it's maybe a month behind. Or
That's what
whatever.
I'm wondering. When did you just get it then? Okay, well, when it comes up, I'll take a peek at that.
One other update just for the board's benefit is a human services building, the boiler system. It's set to go online here in the next 7 to 10 days, although I think it's getting colder now and the staff are certainly feeling it. So we're doing our best to bring that to a conclusion and certainly they're working internally to make sure that it's something they can work in it. And in the daytime's of course very warm, but gets cold in the night, and then of course it just takes time to go up. So we expect it'll be online here shortly, but we appreciate the perseverance from the human services employees in there.
Okay,
Mr. Chair, one other thing,
Yep.
when he gives it, Pat, when you give this report, would you get us some kind of summary of what we spent, a total?
Sure, yeah, absolutely.
And then what
Yeah,
we maybe have targeted, potentially allocated, and then what's just been unallocated?
can do that, yeah.
all right,
Thank you.
Mary?
Okay, our first item is finance. I'm requesting a motion to approve dealer claims, auditor warrants over 90 days and additional issues.
Motion of the board.
Move to approve.
Motion by John,
Second.
second by Richard. Any discussion?
There was a kind of one that was over 90 days. I was looking to see if everyone.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Both same sign. Hearing none, motion carried.
I saw that too.
I'm also requesting a motion to approve claims for human services, public health, and transit.
So moved.
Motion by Ben,
Second.
second by Barry. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carried.
The next item is under the license list. We have 2 tobacco renewals, Chief Corner Store, Pine Point Township, Cormorant Store, Cormorant Township. Requesting a motion to approve.
Move to approve.
Motion by John,
Second.
second by Barry. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carried.
The next item is our cash comparison, sales tax, and investment summary.
Motion to accept.
Motion by Barry to accept,
Second.
second by John.
Mr. Chair.
Yep.
This, Mary, is where I'm saying it hasn't been recognized on our balance sheet here.
In it, the money, if you go to the investments, we received the money and invested it in the same month, the 2nd through $3 million payment. So our investments went from 9 million to 12 million. And if I report it twice, I'm duplicating, I don't have the cash. The cash has been invested. We did receive $6 million.
And, I see what you're saying.
3 million
Moved it in
has
the
been
same month,
invested.
yeah.
In the same month we received the money, it was invested. They are short term. I've got one at I think it's a 3-month and one at a 6-month. But because the money was just sitting there and we were only getting 1.5 in the local bank, I invested it. So we have received the 6 million, but we have invested short term half of it, or 3 million.
Okay, Ben?
Yep.
Okay. All right, we have a motion by Barry, second by John to accept. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carried.
The next item we have is requesting a motion to have the county board chair sign the amended addendum to University of Minnesota with Becker County for extension staff. As Commissioner Knudsen stated, the extension committee wants the part-time staff to be county employees. And so the difference in the current addendum that was signed last year to this one is about $8,000, and that would just be used locally.
Now, that still stays in the budget, but
Mhm.
hire locally rather than hire through extension.
Yeah.
And that would give that would give more flexibility on what is allowed to do. Extension doesn't, or if it's a university employee, they don't allow as much support for just office things that Linda needs that support at fair time and at registration time. So thought it would be a better, and then we're working, as we move forward, working for that person then to also do some of this special things with extension and try to find a partnership there. But Cecilia was going to look into that, how we could, maybe he or she could do some programming with that, but we just didn't want it all programming and we wanted some office support. So
And there's a cost savings to the county with this.
it was cost neutral.
Neutral?
Yeah,
Okay.
there's a cost savings overall from year to year
That's what I
budget
meant,
because
yeah.
we dropped that one full-time
Right.
position. So
Yeah.
this was in the budget the year before too, this part-time, so. I'll make that motion
Motion by Barry,
for the addendum amendment.
Second.
second by John. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carried.
The final item I have is Resolution 1022-1J, have a grant application, round one or phase one. We got the money to purchase the equipment. Not all of the money was spent, so the state has offered a phase two. We are requesting to apply for the grant and use the fund to purchase some cameras for the main entry west and parking areas of the county property. Okay, why are you looking at me like that?
How does
We-
that have any, what's that?
Security, it's security. This is the polling place for the county. We started voting over a week ago.
But people have to come inside to vote and we have cameras all over in here.
Well,
They
it's a
can't
grant.
vote on the curb.
No, you do have to come in to vote. But this
Did
is,
this go through the courthouse committee?
this just came up. They called us and said, we have money left over.
Can we apply for the grant and look at the use of funds if we get it?
Yes,
It's just an application for grant.
this is just
But
to apply.
I didn't realize this, but our parking lot's not covered and I think
Exactly.
it should be.
I think I think we have some shortfalls in some of the surrounding areas,
Yeah.
but I think the
Yeah.
sheriff's offices actually might get some input on where those cameras should be for
That's what I-
maximum benefit.
Yeah.
Figured because we had trimmed some of those
Yeah.
before, but anyway, just wanted to know.
But let's
Yep.
look at
Yep.
expense on that.
Right.
And maybe we could refer that to sheriffs to see where we could partner up with that.
He was in on the discussion yesterday. I think he has some ideas.
Mhm.
Motion to approve 1J.
Motion by Barry,
Second.
second by Richard. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carried.
Thank you.
Multi-department, who's the spokesman?
So in front of you, we have a quote for the ISC digitizing, for the scanning project, digitizing and scanning for all the historical reporters books. And also for a bunch of files in the assessor's office. And then also some planning zoning files. And then auditor's office, the commissioner, yeah, the handwritten commissioner. There's 11 books, those old historical commission books. And we like to accept the quote, and then for ISC, they were the low quote, the local. We've actually, in the reporter's office, used them prior for a lot of digitizing up to this point. And they've worked with 63 counties, I believe, in Minnesota doing that. Any questions? Any of it?
Oh, I have a lot of questions. I guess I'm a little shocked at the price tag. I know we've worked in the past to stagger this forward. I'm wondering how does that complement what we've done in the recorder's office? I mean, I don't know. This was I just have to get more around. I'm not supporting it today. I'm not saying it's not where you want to go, but I need to get some more information, and I think I need to have, $500,000. I'm not supporting it.
For the recorder's office, it would be from the beginning of time, all the indexing books, all the deeds, mortgages, miscellaneous, anything that we have down there in the basement. And then I believe it goes all the way to, I think we have stuff on 1956, I think it is.
I know in the recorder's office, I know there's a need to preserve these documents but I want to know what we've done and if that works. I mean, are they partnering? Is this something that's going to be obsolete in 5 years? Is this, I just have a lot of questions, and I don't know I don't know what the need is, because we're in the assessor's office I don't know that there's a need there. I'm not saying that there isn't, but I don't know that there is. And I don't think we're going to come up with any solution for my vote in the next 3 minutes, so.
And for my part of it is all the old books downstairs, and we have no backup of them. So if there'd be a fire, sprinklers would come on and get on those books. We have no backup, that's it. That's all we.
It'd be a lot cheaper to buy a safe.
If you're not pulling it, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
I definitely have a question on how the taxpayer is going to benefit from this, because obviously it's a very large expense. Is there going to be a saving of personnel time? Are the three units going to collaborate somehow? Because I too don't quite know why we would need to spend the money in the assessor's office or the planning and zoning office so much. In assessments, after it's been so many years, you can't change anything about it anyway, as far as tax court or anything.
No.
So
People for capital gains have to go back when they got that land and inherited it and figure out that value to pay that. So we do go back maybe a dozen or 20 times a year looking up that old information.
now the tax records that are currently, stored by the museum and stuff, I'm assuming that would have that information. How is that different than the information you're talking about? Some of it may be stored in our old jail.
My books are down in the vault. That's just the old property information values going back to the beginning of time. Otherwise, I have 1997 to the current is already digital.
Do you know, Mary, the tax records that the museum stores for the county? Yeah.
I was told by museum staff that a lot of them labeled that there was a leak in the basement of the museum. We have actually not looked at the books, but there was substantial damage. The state demographer came up in 2004 and it was the first 50 years. They did the state requires 0 and 1 of every decade to be transferred to the state. Now, I think we could get digital copies going forward, since 2010, which is the current tax system we have. Those could be done digitally. We have paper or hard copy. You can find around on the website because we do, I think it's 2005. But prior to that, it's a hard copy book, and I think we have 1980 through when we put printed, which was about 2000 in the basement.
But that would contain the same information that these people with capital gains are asking about too, just not their field cards and stuff, wouldn't it? I mean, because their value is going to show on.
In the tax. We do not have a breakdown. Tax book. Tax book.
Yeah, but that's all you need for capital gains. On a parcel, you're going to have it per parcel. But anyway, you know, I'm interested in finding out how the taxpayer is going to, benefit from this and move forward if we find out that they will.
Would you be interested in a meeting with them separately, you and Ben? Barry, and Ben and Barry and Dan? Because we've sat through the presentation, there was a lot more to it than what you're seeing here, but would you be interested in that?
Yeah, well, yeah. The other question I have is I see a lot of the counties around us they're working with, but I know that Wadena County couldn't afford an investment like this. So on what scale did they use this and how is that different than what we are talking about?
Just like we've been working with them too.
Right, yeah, so
we just, Patty would take a chunk and keep plugging away at it.
Just started back with Darlene originally, so Darlene had so many documents digitized, and then they got put into our system, and we ended up implementing some rules and getting those available to the public.
So we did this in the zoning office for the septic records. It's made a big difference for people using that. Would this be similar for you? Would people not have to call you? Could they?
Exactly. So they can
So-
actually do the research on their own and find anybody's information, because it's all public as far as my department goes.
Right.
Everything that would be put on our document flow system, and then it would go out onto the website, they could subscribe to that system and search whatever they want.
There'd be a cost to that though,
Yes.
There'd be a cost to that,
subscription cost
per
to that.
individual.
Oh, it is.
There's no staff cost to that. So I'm not, my people aren't going downstairs and trying to do hours of research for somebody and then emailing it.
but you guys tell them they have to go do that basically
A
anyway.
lot of times, but they need guidance. and help
Right, yeah,
because
I get that.
Not everybody has.
Well, like me, when I've asked you questions about the old books before.
Exactly. So there is a cost.
I'd still need help if it was digital.
And
to
we still do get
be
those
honest.
phone calls of like, how do you use that system or where do you find it?
Larry, who did we have do human services?
No.
No, we hired out for that. It was before COVID. We digitized all their files.
I don't remember.
Remember? And I think that was in that 100,000 range, if I remember right.
Well, Chair, if I could just add something, I think I think sending someone down into a room full of books that are replaceable is not a good chain of command and of custody of documents. And we have done quite a bit of that. In fact, just recently the door was open for anyone just to walk in. And so if somebody walks out with that book, that information is gone. And so we secured it. We put a lock on it. And staff does well to, I'm sure, let people go down there that can be trusted and things like that, but that's a risk. And so, I mean, this is a significant investment, to be sure. We think it's a great ARPA project. And the fact is since you're going from the beginning of time, it's not a surprising number. It's an investment. But the return is those documents are available for staff to look at, not sending any people downstairs. We know all the documents have been scanned. We're done with it because anything moving forward is digitized. So if you do it in steps, that's, again, the board's choice, but I think this may be the time to, if you need to learn more about it, please do, but I think it's the time to move on this.
Well, I think it's that, but, you know, I would be more supportive of the recorder's office. I don't know that we need to do all our planning and zoning and tax or assessment files, so it's just to what scale, you know, but I would scan all those books.
And the one thing with the books that, for our office, especially the very, very old ones from the 1800s, they're bound. We can't even take the pages apart. We don't have the equipment to be able to scan those ourselves even to do that. So we're filling, they're huge books. I can't remember, they're like 11 by 17 or 13 by 17. And then you gotta try to figure out how to shrink it on a copier and reduce the size and order, and you're messing with it for quite a while to get somebody a copy of something also. So they're bound, and
I can scan
the
it with,
company is not taking,
I can scan it with my phone in 2 seconds.
but yeah, as far as using a copier or something like that.
Then Barry meet with them and get them
We're
more.
Is that what you want to do? You want to get more information?
Well, I'd like to get the quote broken down, yeah, and find out how much,
It's broke down here.
but find out, you know, what is the need for how far to go back on
Okay.
planning and zoning and stuff.
All right.
so.
So do we need to table this then? Or just not,
It's your call. We want to table it.
Want to table
I
it?
think the direction is there's going to be.
I think you guys need more
Meeting?
information. Okay. So I'll entertain a motion to table.
So moved.
Motion by John,
Second,
second by Ben. All in favor signify by saying aye.
aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carried.
And Chair, I really do want to thank staff for their effort here. They put a lot of time into this, and I know just a bit more discussion, hopefully we'll get to vote on it, but I do appreciate your guys' effort.
Yeah, it was nice to see the 3 quotes and, you know, it is broken down. So a little more narrative behind it would be great.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, this is Denise. I'm online.
Okay.
If I could just say something about the human services.
Yes,
You
please.
guys had the question. So we went through next chapter technology for EDMS, but that was for current cases and moving forward. It wasn't for a backlog of cases. We have that same need here at Human Services.
Better team up. One more on the
We-
list. Thank you, Denise.
You're welcome.
Judy?
Morning.
Morning.
We have two items before you. One is for the nimble storage, which I requested you offer a quote about probably 6 weeks ago. We've received the quotes back. I did get the 4 quotes that you asked for, Gary, and I'm recommending option 1. Option 1 happens to be a little bit less than I'd anticipated. They really deepened their discount for us, and it's a $289,759, and that's for 5 years of nimble storage that will last us with the kind of growth that we've predicted. I did predict growth for the standing project, so it would probably last us now 6. Now, in that 6th year, we would have to be maintenance, just so you guys know. The reason I picked that quote is when we went and we filled them up, it was about another $200,009 to fill them up. So that would make that quote go to $469,506. We easily could do that if that's your recommendation, absolutely. But I felt for the linear storage that we're using, the way we do it, and the reason we do it for about 5 years, maybe 6, is because the technology changes enough that it gets so much cheaper for us. So we could get, bigger, better. We spent $130,000 for 24 terabytes of space. The last time we bought the nimble storage, that was about $5,400 a terabyte. Any one of these things is down to between 1.5 and 2. I think one of them is actually 2.3. So that's kind of what we're doing, is trying to figure out a better way to do this for us. Do you have any questions on it? What else do you need to know?
Judy,
It's new enough, I'm not.
just one question, with Denise chiming in and the possible with, if that was included, would this still be?
Because of the way I do that, I do a plus or minus 50%, so I already added 50% to their quote, just so you know, because it is so hard when they list documents. We went with, so I think I could handle, if she would have, I don't know how many pages she has, but I bet you I'm very, very close with, just by the way I do things, because anytime you have linear growth, you'll see just jumps from projects. And so I expected one more project jump, so I think I could handle her stuff in linear growth for the next five years pretty easy. Again, if you want to know right now, it's about the $209,000. That would probably go down if we did, if we bought it 3 years from now, just because again, the technology gets a little bit cheaper every time we do it. So I'm very comfortable saying that we would be good for 5 years on this frame. And we could probably, again, if we don't do anything with the scanning, we could probably go for 6. And if we added to it, I still think we're very good on this frame. I think we really can handle it. And I think we could figure out other ways. The way this storage works is really, it's kind of, I don't know how to say it, but it's kind of amazing the way it works. The way you do it, it actually, we buy so much, but because of the way it uses compression, we really get way more. So we would change our compression algorithm if we needed to. Like let's say tomorrow, let's say after this storage came in, if we had to do something different with cameras, we got different cameras that were way more pixels. I believe we can handle that for the next 5 years. Again, just those kinds of math problems, that's how we plan storage normally.
Mr. Chair, question for Judy. Did you, I had mentioned that the sheriff's department may end up applying for body cameras for some of the jailers. Would that?
The body cameras we store locally. We currently store those locally on the server. So this is not included in that kind of storage.
Okay.
This kind of storage, because of its performance, we normally don't use for cameras because it's considerably more expensive per terabyte. So we would look to do something. In fact, that's something else that we're working on, is their WatchGuard system, which is the body camera system for both the squads and the sheriff's deputies right now. And I would imagine we would use the same thing. We can either have that on premise, but we also are looking at an off-premise solution, again, for 5 years. And we're just in the infancy. We just got kind of our I guess I'd call them, I don't want to call it, kind of our needs list put together. We're kind of getting the right team together. So we've got a little bit more to do on that before we start meeting with the 2 or 3 vendors we're choosing to meet with. Right now, the vendor we're using is WatchGuard. We plan to invite them, another company called Axon, and then a third company. So we have 3 different folks. Did that explain to you?
Yeah, another thing that I'm thinking, if we get through the end of 2025 to spend the ARPA money and you think that it's going to get cheaper to add storage to those shelves, then you should, reserve off a certain amount of ARPA money.
Okay.
So we don't have to.
Okay. I can work with Pat.
Yeah.
Make sure that happens.
Okay.
Any other questions?
What's the timeline for this?
It's actually quite quick. If we were to order this in the next week, we would probably get it within the next 4 weeks.
And how about getting it up to speed? That would
And
be
installed in the next
okay.
4 weeks. I mean, from the time we order it, it would be about 4 weeks later. And that was about a week ago when I asked them, and again, things are changing all the time with equipment delivery, but right now, this looks very, very good.
This is going to bring us through, what is it, metaverse?
No, it's not. Well, we can start working on that if you need me to.
I'm a little scared of that.
Yeah, me too.
So these are all nimble quotes with different options and
Yes.
sizes. Is there any other vendors that
Well,
we would
we
be?
decided to stick with
I know we use nimble now.
this vendor because of the way it works with our stuff. It's just the best technology for the way we save stuff, the way we back up stuff, the way we restore it. It just works out better. Other companies are actually more expensive.
You did look into it then?
Yeah, but.
Or you know,
I
we're
didn't get
within
formal quotes. I got
10% or
general
something?
quotes from a couple other places, from the EMC or Dell people. That's what we had before, but they were incredibly expensive compared to this, because remember I told you it kind of does this magic with compression? We don't get that with other vendors. So we're buying, instead of the 125, we're probably buying 180 or 200 terabytes of disk space. And so for us, this was, whoever made this choice was a very good choice. What they made it 5 years ago, it really was. It works really well for the mix of our data. I mean, if I need to, I certainly could go get additional quotes. That wouldn't be a problem. It will delay us a couple, 3 weeks probably, but I certainly could do that. I've got the numbers. It's not a huge deal. So if you want me to do that, no problem.
Well, we always like that, but I understand we're building on to something that we already have, and you have a good reason to go with this. But, you know, even to have just something in your, you know, email kind of rough, I don't think that would delay us, but even so, I think for your file, it would be useful to have.
Making a note of that, so I don't forget.
And I wouldn't spend a whole lot of time on it, but if you get an emailed
Sure,
quote.
absolutely. I can do that.
All right, we have a motion.
You want to approve it with the caveat, seeing making sure it's
your committee.
Your recommendation, I'm fine with going with the 289.
Okay, good.
I don't know if you want another quote, hold off on the purchase until you get another quote, just to make sure, but with it being so intertwined already, there's no way it can be cheaper, I don't think.
Well, I would agree with that, but if you need the quote, I'm happy to get it.
Well, yeah, you could get it in a couple of days and put in the order anyway, so you could make that motion and just with the caveat.
I'll make the motion to go with the recommendation of
Okay, we have a motion.
to the nimble 6050 with 125, 50% pop, and with the additional shelves being available up to 500 for 289, 759, and request before the actual purchase to get another quote in for file purposes.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion by Barry, second by Ben for resolution 1022-1D. Any other discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carried.
The next thing that I have is another quote. This is actually the quote for the booking cameras at the jail. This is from Bosch. They're the ones that manage the booking cameras, and their booking camera was from 2018, and it's failed. And Bosch has loaned them one. And the reason I'm bringing this forward is because IT believes that Bosch, because of their specialized nature, we don't believe we can do as good a job. And I want to be clear on that these are the right people to do it. It's a PC, but it's very specialized PC. They set it all up. We will do the actual physical install for it, but we're not the ones that maintain it. We don't decide when the updates happen, and it's a much better way to go to have them do it. I think we could spend weeks, months trying to get this system working because we don't have the specialized stuff that we do, and it just makes more sense. And it's for a cost of $4,973. That's the current quote.
Chair, move resolution 1F.
Motion by John,
Second.
second by Richard. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carried. Thank you, Judy.
Thank you.
Human Resources. This thing along here.
I had provided in your packet, just for your reference, I did some research on which benefits were being payroll deducted for employees. Some were by paper, some were through Benefits Connect, et cetera. So I did provide that. And just again, wanted the board to have that information for review. And is there any questions with regards to that? I'm not asking for any action, just again, for your information.
Have you sent that out all county? Just you updated us. I think it might be a good idea to send the same thing out to everybody.
Yes, I would agree. And the intent was to collect that information, again, with the intent as we go forward with open enrollment so that our Benefits Connect can also have all of that information to make it, so it's all in one location for when employees are doing that open enrollment time, that they have all the information, are able to, that will be built in, hopefully into our Benefits Connect so that they can do it from that site. In the past, they haven't always been able to do that. It's been paper copies with some of our vendors through payroll. So our open enrollment has been set for 10/24 to 11/6. That'll be our open enrollment period for our benefits. And we very purposefully set our benefits fair, as Pat had referenced earlier, for October 19th. We wanted that to come prior to our open enrollment period. So employees had the option to ask questions, learn about benefits. Going back to the survey that I sent out, there was some need or some comments that came through from that we really tried to hone in on through the benefits fair as we did breakout sessions, which will go out. Registration we're capping it at 20 people per group in the smaller sessions. With the design of the vendors that employees had indicated they wanted more information specifically about our medical insurance and our retirement, the deferred comp specifically. So those will be those sessions. I scheduled them in the morning and also in the afternoon during the benefits fair so that employees would have a couple of options to get that information, as well as they will also have the option to the vendors that will be on site here. They'll have the option also to ask some individualized questions as well.
I think 13 days is too short of an open enrollment period. Is there something that precludes it from being 3 weeks or a month?
That gets to be quite long as you're trying to finalize things on the back end.
So how much time do you guys actually have legally for your time to open enroll and have all the changes done?
Ooh, I don't know the answer to that. But I can tell you when we were working on setting this date, we actually have a longer period of time than a lot of other entities utilize. That's what I can tell you. But you think it's too short because?
Well, because people looking to make changes just usually take more than 13 days. How many days of those are they going to be working? Is that potentially 8 business days?
Yeah, potentially.
That's not a lot of time.
It's been fairly short in the past too.
I think in the past when I looked, I think it's been a shorter turnaround than that. Yeah. Actually, we extended it a little bit because I had asked for opening shortly thereafter our benefits fair and then closing after a weekend coming up on a Monday in case people forgot. So we were, I guess, I felt thoughtful when we were trying to set those, but.
Well, it's good. I know that we as commissioners always seem to practically have it done for us. Mm-hmm. I know that the period of time is quite a bit longer than that, but if it's longer than it usually is, that's fine. I just think it seems short. But.
Just gotta get it done.
Well, and some, and I guess to your comments, I think sometimes if you set it too long, people tend to procrastinate and wait till the very end too. So I think it's a balance.
Yeah, I can see that. And I'd start sending out emails once a week about it at least, starting now.
Yes, we have set it. And as we're coming into the benefits fair, yes, that's on my radar to start sending that and reminding people, not just a once and done, but continuing to remind and putting it hopefully out on the intranet as well. I think Pat already touched on this earlier. We did get the rates in for our health insurance through PEEP, roughly around 5%. And based on some of the information I got from other entities, counties, et cetera, a lot of other places got much higher increases. So even though 5% is an increase, and we would love not to have increases, but I think we fared quite well compared to other places. Currently, switching to open positions. At this point, I did take a look and see what positions we have open and where we are with numbers. As of yesterday, we had 3 full-time positions that were open. 2 of those were well into the process of applicants, and I believe on one of them, at least, they had done some interviews. One had just been posted either Friday or Monday. And also open positions, there were 6 part-time that were open as well. So in total, we are in single digits of 9. So I thought that was very good news moving forward and filling those positions. And I do believe the sheriff had already talked about his positions, that he had numerous positions open that have recently been filled. Update on WEX. Transition, as perhaps many of you know, it's been a bit bumpy. We are not alone in that. Other counties, other cities, other places that have transitioned from further over to WEX had similar issues with data transfers and bumps in the road. As of yesterday, as I was communicating with WEX, I'm hoping, I believe, we're on the downswing of that. I get a few individuals reaching out to me that are, having some issues with lockouts on accounts and such. But I do believe we are on the downswing and payments are being made. There are still individuals that have indicated they still haven't gotten, their cards and such for accounts. But again, I think that's just a few versus where we started. So any questions about that? Okay. Last item that I have is we have been in process of meeting with some insurance brokers, and that will continue. That was at the direction of the board last meeting. We do have a few more that we'll be meeting with. We've had some individual brokers that have reached out to us, and we've reached out to others per recommendation of Integrity or other brokers. So we will be bringing that information, or I will be bringing that information back once we have that list complete.
Mr. Chair, what I'd like to see there is a request for proposals or qualifications in the newspaper, that says anybody local or any, can submit their proposal to be our insurance broker, just like we do with real estate professionals or anybody else, any other professional services we're looking for.
Okay.
So if you have any trouble, finding a resource, like I say, the school districts and the city do this like every 3 years. So just copy one of theirs and publish it in the paper, and then we'll feel like we gave everybody a good shot.
Okay. Yeah, and truly, just for the board's information, really what I have prefaced in meeting with those brokers is obviously we are locked into our PEEP insurance rates for 2023, but really looking for a broker that can do some front end work to really see what's out there or what may be a good fit for our county in trying to keep our rates for our insurance down, and then also offering our employees the best benefits that we possibly can for the best price.
Sheriff Glender noted that you had 2 openings left at the jail. Is that accurate?
I believe that's what it is. Yeah, we're in the background process. In the background process of.
You have them you have offers out?
We actually have 2 people that were just hired as of, one this week and one last week that are training, and then 2 other positions that don't have offers, but they're in various stages of the background.
So you're in the process of being staffed?
Yes. Yep.
Well, it's not on.
No.
Well, yeah, are we getting, what happened to the break?
Okay.
Now all of a
Anything
sudden
else
we'll get 'em?
for
We're
me?
going to have a break.
Oh,
Okay.
I'm just saying when they were done, yeah.
Oh, yeah, well, she's done, yeah.
Okay, any other questions for me? Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
would just say that we had a real strong endorsement for the candidate of the broker position that we had talked to originally, Gallic, from the city. That's who they use, and they're really pleased.
Good
with
to
it.
know.
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't drank any this year, so maybe I'll drink some now. I'm good otherwise. Sheriff Klander?
Good morning.
Morning.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, I have two items on the agenda for approval. First one, I'm looking for approval to sell our 1996 Chevy Tahoe, which is an STS vehicle.
Move to approve.
Motion by John,
Second.
second by Richard. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carried.
Item number 2 is approval for the TZD grant for 2023. We received $30,950 with a matching portion of $1,550.
Move to approve 1I.
Motion by John,
Second.
second by Barry. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carried.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, members of the board, we were talking about staffing this morning, and as of next Tuesday, or Monday, I will be at full staff with our open vacancies. And we'll still be down one, but as far as the open vacancies, will be full. And it is quite an honor to be at this point and have people want to work for the sheriff's office. And with us today are the 2 newest deputies. They've been working for a little while. And at first, I'd like to bring up Deputy Brad Hoagland. Go ahead. And Deputy Hoagland has been with us for a few years as a boat and water deputy. And I'll let him explain where he's from and his experience.
Good morning, members of the board. I'm Deputy Hoagland, like Sheriff Glander said. I'm from Detroit Lakes originally, and I started my law enforcement career 20 years ago with the United States Navy. And I'm glad to finish it here in Becker County, which is my family's home.
Okay, now we'll do the oath.
Okay.
Raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Bradley James Hoagland. I, Bradley James Hoagland. Do hereby swear. Do hereby swear. That I will support the Constitution of the United States of America. That I will support the Constitution of the United States of America. And impartially discharge. And impartially discharge. The duties of the office of Deputy Sheriff. The duties of the office of Deputy Sheriff. Of Becker County, Minnesota. Of Becker County, Minnesota. To which I have been duly appointed. To which I have been duly appointed. To the best of my ability. To the best of my ability. Congratulations. Thank you. Stand still. Congratulations. Go ahead and sit down. We'll take pictures afterwards. Now I'd like to invite up Deputy Jessica Ross. This is Deputy Jessica Ross. She actually came to us from Hennepin County, and I'll let her explain her experience and where she came from.
Good morning, members of the board. My name is Jessica, as Sheriff said. I came from Hennepin County. I worked in the jail with them for about 1.5 years, also with Bloomington as a community service officer. I attended school at Century College in White Bear Lake and Hennepin Tech for my skills portion of my hands-on for my law enforcement. I am coming up to this area. I've always loved being up north. It's just been my true passion. My boyfriend's family is from up here. Spending time with family is just one of the best things that I can continue to do, and now being able to serve the community that they live in and others, and just being able to continue that here just excites me very much.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Would you stand up in front of the table? And I will say that her father flew in from Texas for this event. So, right here. Am I right on that? Yeah. So repeat after me. I, Jessica Lauren Ross,
I, Jessica Lauren Ross,
do hereby swear
do hereby swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
that I will support the Constitution of the United States of America
and impartially discharge
and impartially discharge
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of Deputy Sheriff of Becker County, Minnesota,
of Deputy Sheriff of Becker County, Minnesota,
to which I have been duly appointed
to which I have been duly appointed
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Sir?
Other way.
I have 3 daughters. I feel your pain.
Okay. Come on up, guys. There's a story behind that.
Oh, okay. I was like, how much did you move to? Whatever. Here goes.
There we go. No. Okay, I can see everybody's. This is good.
Look at Shane's head.
Don't look directly into the light.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can hug Jeff, that's okay.
What's she related?
That must be
His mics are
one of
on.
them boys.
Mics are on.
Well, that's.
Go ahead, Jim.
Morning, Chairman, members of the board. 2 items for your consideration today for highway. First one is final project acceptance. This is a project of a box replacement up on County Road 7 that was completed last year. We've received all paperwork and documentation. We're ready to final that out. The project turned out well and very close to budget.
Motion to approve 1A.
Motion by Barry, second by John. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carried.
Next item for your consideration is a resolution for you to allow county state aid construction funds to use on financing our building. This is required as part of the process to get these funds from NDOT. We are eligible to use up to 70% of our funds against the project, which is based off of our CASA mileage to total mileage. However, we won't be using that full amount right now. Our estimate is in that $4.5 to $5 million of CASA funds that we would use.
Motion to approve 1B.
Motion by Barry, second by John. Any discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carried. Did a really good job this morning, Jim. You did a good job this morning with your presentation.
Yeah, thank you.
It was shorter than Ron's.
Shorter than Ron. Hey, Ron, I thought we should probably get him a chair. That's fine.
Good
morning. Morning. We have two different things two different items in front of us today for you to consider. The first one is the Ecumen Child Care Grant Request. They're asking for $15,000 from a child care grant program that we set up previously. That original grants were set up or the purpose was to try to get people to expand into homes, the child care, if we had people, and this is a business that's doing it, they're going to be placing it in the nursing care facility in the lower unit by the hospital. They're going to have 2 pods, and they're requesting $15,000 from Becker County. Total project cost is going to be right around $75,000.
Falls within all the criteria?
It does.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Barry, second by Ben. I'll just say it was originally $20,000, but they've got really good funding in other sources, so they lowered it down to $15,000.
Correct.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carried.
The second item is for environmental services. We're at that point in time in the year when we're looking at our fee schedules. And we had an environmental services committee meeting last Thursday, and we discussed the budget. We're talking about our solid waste assessment fee schedule and talked about it at length. The recommendation was to increase the residential solid waste fee $10 per household and 10% on the commercial solid waste assessment. These fees will be used to offset some of our upcoming costs. We had a significant increase in our solid waste disposal costs that we're looking at for both 2022, 23, and 24. Fargo has notified us that they are looking at increasing our tipping fees because they want to make it more comparable with neighboring disposal rates for us. Basically what they're doing is they're trying to reserve more of their space for the people around Fargo. They're cutting Becker County off. That started this summer in about June. All of a sudden they just gave us a phone call out of the blue and said, well, turn your trucks around. So we had a problem we've kind of worked through that. Now they've agreed to allow us to send, they set up to 8,000 tons per year in 23. Currently we generate about 10,000 tons that has to go to the landfill. Just because of the seasonal waste flows that we have here, we can send about 7,000 to 7,500 tons per year to Fargo, because they've also put another caveat on there that they'll only take 2 loads per day. So in the summertime, we're obviously busier, so we're gonna have to send more to a landfill. That increase in cost is about $57 per ton for comparing Fargo versus sending it to Polk County. And so that increase alone this year is probably closer to 100,000. Of course, we're going to have some more next year. And in 2024, they're looking at making it comparable with all the other areas. So we're going to see that remaining 7,500 tons, that's going to go up as well. So we're going to see some healthy increases going into the future. And really the discussion today is to get some direction from the board, how we want to fund those ongoing increases in solid waste disposal. You want to do it in the form of a solid waste assessment or tipping fees? Because right now our tipping fees are approaching they're about $158 a ton right now. When we go up, it's going to, obviously it's going to be passed on to the consumers one way or another. As you increase your tip fees, either on loose garbage or compacted garbage, people will find alternative ways to handle it. So as far as direction goes from the board, you're looking at increasing tip fees versus, a solid waste assessment or some other way of recovering those costs. So, but as I indicated earlier, the environmental services, the 2 commissioners on there, we discussed it, and the recommendation is to increase the solid waste assessment $10 per household for 2023. That's going to raise about $190,000, and the commercial assessment would go up 10%. That's about another $57,000.
So how do we sit with the counties surrounding us as far as the assessment?
Well, that's a very good question, because if you go to the north or you go to the east, the solid waste cost in those counties are more basically on a solid waste assessment. So if you went into Hubbard County, I haven't checked with them for 2023, but I believe they're right around $180 to $200 a ton per household right now. I don't know what their solid waste assessment is on the commercial. It's high. It's much, much higher. If you went into Ottertail County, theirs is, they have a system similar to ours, but they're going to be approaching $70 per household, I believe, for 2023. And then also they're increasing, I believe, their commercial. So they're commercially have some large producers. Their assessment rates on that CNI is significantly higher than what we are. In Polk County, as you go to the north, or Monoman County, they pass it on in the form of a solid waste assessment as well. Clay County is a little bit lower than ours. Of course, they have a landfill, so that's how they offset some of those costs.
I think what we need to do is try to work with, maybe with our partners at Prairie Lakes to try to somehow we can buy down our costs, because Clay County doesn't, they got their own landfill. They really like taking garbage to Prairie Lake, but they're locked in. So I think there's maybe somehow we can work on that. I'm not sure exactly how that would all come out, but maybe something we can do in that respect.
Are they running a deficit on their?
Every year.
Well, we could buy that off of them.
Well, that's my point. There's something that I think we can do maybe to buy down our tip fee on a percentage, just a percentage.
Well, what we would want to do is we would want to buy Clay's portion before all the other counties get after them.
Well, my point is that if the portion that they're paying for, that they're getting no service for.
That's right.
Is, maybe we wouldn't pay the whole amount, but whatever we negotiate with them would be better than what they have now in that respect.
Yeah, then going to full. My thought was, is it something we could capitalize on before we go to all the other members and it gets split out evenly?
Good point. Yeah.
Well, there might be some way to even backhaul some of their landfill.
Well, they're not very open to that. We've had that discussion, right, but Ben, to your point, we would absolutely only talk to Clay County at this point.
And
there would be no advantage for the other ones, right?
We should charge more for that. They got their borrow pit out of Becker County for lining their landfill. It's part ours.
Part of the other thing, and we'll be touring the recycling facility, we're putting that pretty good size expansion on there. Part of their large costs are, they don't have a recycling facility, so they're sending all their recyclables down to the Twin Cities. We might have some capacity to take on some of that here. It would save them a lot of money, possibly. But that would be a trade-off, and that would be a discussion that we'd have to have with them in regards to Commissioner.
I've got a question here on the annual service fee.
Sure.
Is there, I didn't calculate it, is there a break point then as they haul more, then they get charged less per cubic yard or not?
As far as,
okay, so the 0 to 25 cubic yards, it's $65.
it's basically the same.
Oh yeah, there is a break point. Then the next 25 to 49 is 99
Yeah.
instead of 130.
Yeah.
Why are we giving an advantage to somebody that gets more business? I mean, we're in the government regardless of who tips. Why should they be getting, so if I build up more clientele by undercutting people, the county supports me in doing that and I get to dump for a cheaper rate?
No, that's a solid waste assessment on your garbage. That's not your tip fee.
No, I'm talking about this.
Correct.
The
So the way that our solid waste assessment works now.
annual non-compacted cubic yards, annual service fee.
Correct. So the way that it works is every waste hauler has to report to us the amount of garbage they pick up from each business.
Oh, so this is commercial
That's just commercial.
per business?
Per business.
Oh, so they're getting a break point though.
Uh,
They are, if they're a smaller business, they're paying a higher rate
Yeah,
per non-compacted cubic yard, and a bigger business is getting a break point. What was the thought behind giving people a discount on the generation of waste?
The real small producers, they can take up probably just as much time and resources.
Okay,
When you talk about recycling, if you have to go talk to them, you got to offer these same things to those as you do a large business. But basically that curve is set up so that once you get into it, it's pretty flat. I mean, as your volume goes up, your tip fee goes up, but it's based on so many dollars per cubic yard of loose. So you take a large producer, let's say Central Market or somebody that has a compactor, we know how many tons they bring in, but then we'll have a factor to bring it into a loose amount. So to bill them at a larger rate, we try to equalize it so that we're dealing with all producers of garbage with the same methodology. So when the haulers report to us, what they do is they'll tell us what size of dumpster and how frequently it's emptied. So if they have an 8-yard dumpster dumped weekly, we just take and do the math. If they have a 2-yard, once a month, we do the math. And that's how we come up with that.
And that's what we're charging them the solid waste assessment on?
Yes.
And the tipping fee?
No, the tipping fee is a whole separate issue.
Right, but we charge them the tipping fee and the solid waste assessment. But why is it for recycling or is it for waste?
You mean, why do we have a solid waste assessment?
Well, I understand why we have that, but why isn't it just flat like it is for the households?
Well, it'd be very difficult to administer. No, I get what you're getting at.
But it costs less to deal with the bigger guys, right?
Oh, yeah.
So I mean, why wouldn't we give them a break though? That's what why do we have to act like government? Government sucks. Why can't we treat them right? If they're cheaper to deal with, they should, I mean, that's the way it is, and they should get a break then. If they're easier to deal with than the little guy, they should get a break.
Even on a tipping fee, when we charge less to a compacted garbage than we do to loose in an effort to get people that are bringing in loose, the idea is that we can charge them, but we don't want to incentivize people to be bringing us loose because it costs much more per ton to deal with it. Because, you got the guy that brings in the one
Yeah, but
garbage.
that has nothing to do with this. I'm just asking, what's the thought behind this rate, which has a ton of different breakpoints? I mean, that's why I didn't even waste the time.
Sure.
What is the reason for it to go from 65, then you add 34, the next line, and then 66 for the next two, and then 33, and then 100?
You mean as far as
As the
breakpoints?
dollar at every
What is the
25.
point of this?
Well, the point is that as you increase the volume of garbage that they have, they're going to pay so many dollars per cubic yard. And so if you did the math in between those, it's halfway. That's the way I figured it out, is based on that. It's something I inherited from a long time ago. Most counties have a rate that they charge per cubic yard for the garbage that's generated by that business, whether it's $1, $2, or $5, whatever it is, to help cover those costs associated with recycling, reuse, or any other abatement type of a program that you have. That's the purpose of it, is to help cover those costs.
But do we have a blue container there?
Not necessarily.
It's just to run our program then?
It's to run your
Because
program.
Prairie Lakes filters out the,
So if you looked at these other counties that are building all their disposal costs or all their solid waste costs, on a tip fee, or not on a tip fee, but on a solid waste assessment, that's exactly what they do.
well, this could be, it seems very antiquated to me. There's tellers taking measurements or, keeping track of things every time a hauler comes in and summing it up at the end of a year. And none of that seems necessary to me. I think we could come up with a easier standardized way to do that.
There possibly could be.
Well,
We'd have to
there
do it.
definitely could be. And,
But either way you do it, you're going to wind up charging, or you have to have some sort of recovery or revenue.
Oh, I understand. I mean, I like just straight tipping fees, as you know, but this doesn't need to be this.
The downside of what you're saying is that when you start having a business, the purpose of the solid waste assessment originally, what they came up with, was that as a business if they're able to recycle or figure out some other way of abating that solid waste, the theory is that their costs are going to go down, but they still should. You should have some way of recovering that cost. So how would you do it?
Why?
That's why you have a solid waste assessment. Because if you have,
If they were abating the cost by going with waste management for recycling it, then Becker County shouldn't be abating that cost.
no, but
We shouldn't be we shouldn't be non-conservative and very liberal with what we do out there. If Central Market wanted to use waste management to offset their recycling costs, Becker County shouldn't then say, well, because you're selling your commodities to them, we need to collect from you. And that's pretty much to me what you're just saying, that we shouldn't give them a savings if they're finding other ways to abate their solid waste costs.
so the same illustration was if you take a business that recycles 100% of it, whether it's through Becker County or somebody else,
Let's say they recycle 100% of it through waste management,
okay?
100%, so they don't use us at all. What are your thoughts there?
Waste management brings their recycling to us.
Well, I'm sure they sell. No, well, let's say that they did. Let's say commodity rates were
It's
good.
illegal for them.
Well, they can sell it, but the thing is
They can sell
that
the
the economics
the
of it are
recycling.
such that they don't, there's no incentive for them to haul it down to the Twin Cities.
Okay, but then you charge waste management.
We do.
Yeah, so why would Central Market pay waste management and pay Becker County?
Well, they won't if they're actually recycling 100% of it, but then the same illustration.
I mean,
holds
you
true.
came up with the illustration. I'm just saying it
Sure.
doesn't make sense.
Well, they'd pay $65 because it's zero. They'd have a minimum cost of $65.
Irregardless, right?
Yeah.
Help cover those types of costs. You do have costs associated with whether it's recycling or if it's hazardous waste or education outreach, whatever they may be that comes with the department. That somehow you got to recover that unless the decision is made to either increase tip fees or transfer funds in from your general levy or
Well, we could stop spending as much.
we still have to
Increase
handle it.
tip fees.
Well, with increased tip fees, you're going to have people finding alternative ways to handle it. That's the way it is.
Mr. Chair, did your committee approve the solid waste assessments fee schedule?
We did.
I will make a motion to approve the 1G.
Second.
I think that scale is kind of goofy because there's such different numbers in those lots, but that's for another day.
I think you're right. I mean, we have to generate the revenue, and that's what we're doing here. Whether you agree with the process is another
Sure,
thing.
no, that's right. And that's something we could look at for this upcoming year. We do have to certify an assessment at this board meeting. Just by law, you have to.
Right.
So,
All right, we have a motion by Barry, second by Richard. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Hearing none, motion carried.
thank you. Are you, first of all, going out to the recycling?
Did we do
facility?
H?
No, that's the solid waste fees. We'll hold off that. Because I got to adjust my budget to reflect what was passed at this board meeting.
Oh, you didn't know if it would pass or what?
I didn't know what was going to wind up, whether you went to $5, $10. I mean,
Well, we went up by $10.
we did, yeah. So now I'll adjust some of our tip fees to reflect that. So,
You know, campaigning, one of the things that people complain about a lot is the cost of the waste program in the city. And I know you get calls about it.
You know, when Brian
City?
Berg, when Brian Berg was with us, I can't remember what his name was, but there was another administrator and from India, and he said, what do you do in India with your waste? And he said, if we don't have waste, I mean, like the United States, we have so much waste here. It's just, and we have to try to minimize some of our waste.
I remember back in this solid waste first started, there was the same, concept back then. Why are we paying so much for our garbage? And the thought is, buy smarter, try and reduce your trash. Some people do, some people don't.
Well, Aldi now, you got to bring your own bags or you got to buy them.
It's something that'll be ongoing.
It's forever.
But cardboard boxes for cereal, I mean,
Getting rid of
that's
your
a
garbage
waste.
is not free anymore.
You can just get a bag of it. Okay, we have to have
If
bugs.
you go overseas, they'll just scoop it out
Yeah.
of a big thing. That's how they do it. Yeah, and your chicken is in a bucket. You don't get the bucket,
When I was in Mexico
in a
and
warm bucket.
watched the rooster fights, those are just on ice up by the bathroom. That was breakfast or lunch.
Yeah.
All right, I want to read this statement. Evaluation of county administrator, motion to close pursuant.
So moved.
Second.
I got to read this. Statute 13D.05 sub 3A, a public body may close a meeting to evaluate the performance of an individual who is subject to its authority. The public body shall identify the individual to be evaluated prior to the closing of a meeting. At its next open meeting, the public body shall summarize the conclusion regarding the evaluation. The meeting must be open at the request of the individual who is subject of the meeting. All right, so I'll entertain a motion to close.
Mr. Chair, just a quick question before we do that. Kyle emailed us that we were gonna pick a date where we could all get together on that ordinance changes at this meeting.
He's working on it. I talked to him the other day about it.
But we were gonna do it while we were all here.
Pick the date, you mean?
He had communicated with me. I know he wasn't able to make the board meeting. I had suggested him putting an email out and looking at after adjournment of the next communication out to the board.
That satisfactory, next meeting?
We can get together before then.
But he can I'll ask him to put an email out even earlier if you'd like.
All right, motion
So moved.
by Ben,
Second.
second by John. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.